Hey everyone, Ben and Greg here, pastors of Midtown Community Church, and we wanted to give you an update on what we've seen God do in the life of our church over this past year. As people, it's so easy for us, unless we intentionally mark events and signs of God's faithfulness, to forget the ways in which God is faithful to us. So we want to take the time now together to mark some of the ways we've seen God be so faithful to us. And the first way we've really seen that is in our finances for this church plant.
Personally, I've seen that. 2 years ago, I was a pastor on staff at a different church and felt God's call to come and help Ben plant this church. And kind of took like a leap of faith, moved from a salaried position to a residency where I had to fundraise. And that went remarkably easy just because of people's generosity. Met my fundraising goal really quickly. And then we began fundraising for this church. We had a goal of $500,000. And Ben, like, leading that capital campaign, we hit, because of people's generosity and God's grace, that $500,000, and like even above and beyond that. God has been so financially generous to this church.
Yeah. And one story that comes to mind immediately when we think about this is there was one day in particular where I was meeting with Jeff Haneke, who is our treasurer for our church, and some of the other people involved in making financial decisions for us. And we were talking about how we needed an additional $50,000 more than we thought to make our money work for the next 2 years. And literally walking out of that meeting, I got a call from our denomination that they were pledging us $45,000 over the next 3 years, almost exactly the amount that we needed. The Lord has been so kind and so faithful to us in terms of our finances.
The second big area that we've seen God like really bless this church is in terms of our leadership. And by that, I don't mean Ben and I.
we're such a big blessing.
Yeah. But in terms of like God raising up lay and volunteer people to really serve well. We've launched, what do we have, 5 community groups now? 6?
6, yeah.
And keep having need for more and more community groups. And God has raised up community group leaders, even from like an early stage, so that we've never really been at a significant need when it comes to leaders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not just community group leaders, but we've seen our core team of people step up in terms of providing volunteer leadership for the ministries of our church. Like most times in a church planting context, you don't launch with volunteer leaders that are trained and ready to go in areas like children's ministry or hospitality or administration or all of those things. But we have a team of people in those types of roles that have done a phenomenal job for us, stepping in and providing necessary leadership and stability for us as a church as we launched.
Yeah. The third category we've really felt God's blessing is in terms of people. So on an average Sunday, so far, we've had 123.6 people, right?
That's
the 0.6,
person.
yeah.
Yeah.
The guy, yeah, he doesn't have a leg. It's just been amazing to see people come to Midtown Community Church. 2 Sundays ago, we welcomed into membership 14 new people, which is really exciting. Mm-hmm. And routinely, we've seen people come who don't believe what we believe, but who are interested in learning more about Christianity, what it means to follow Jesus, and what that means for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've also seen people welcomed into community groups. Like Greg mentioned, we have 6 community groups, and it's been so awesome to see our people welcome other people into their lives and their homes, and the posture of our church that has been so welcoming towards new people. And one day in particular, my office here on the 3rd floor of our building is like right on the street, and there's always people out there walking and talking. And one day in particular, I overheard a couple people out there talking about our church, and so naturally I did what all of us would do. I turned my music down and started to creep on what they were saying, and I was so encouraged, man. Like I was prepared to hear like things that were not very kind or that were the worst, and they were talking for about 5 minutes, just gushing about how they've seen our people be super kind and welcoming and hospitable, and about how they were excited that a church like ours was here in their neighborhood. So we've really been blessed to see God show up with our leaders in the way that they've welcomed in other people.
Yeah. A fourth way that we've seen God bless us is by giving us this building that we're sitting in right now. It's kind of incredible. Like this, a lease just sort of dropped in our lap last April. We've been in this building. And then we've needed to see like a ton of work done to it since then. And our core team has put in hundreds of hours to get this up and running. And that's been phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. I can remember our the week leading up to launch when we had a bunch of things still left to do. And like one night in particular, a bunch of stuff wasn't going well. Greg and I were really discouraged and kind of pouting around. And like our core team of people was just on it, like getting things done. We're happy. They were making jokes when we were too busy in the corner moping to like laugh. And we saw the Lord show up in their efforts so much. And by his grace, that week we got so much done and saw this place launched. And honestly, we have been blessed so much more beyond what we deserve in this facility. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. So those are 4 quick ways that we have seen God like just shower our church with blessings and grace. He's been so kind to us. Thank you for your support and for your care for us and for your prayers. We love you guys.